We're also fortunate to be able to include in the sale a very nice selection of circus posters, amongst which are several images printed by Adolf Friedlander in Hamburg, Germany. Friedlander was a master lithographer, and collectors seek out works printed by this company because of the very high quality of the lithographs themselves. Some people collect circus posters because of the circuses they reflect. They want everything by Ringling Brothers or everything by the Cole Brothers. But a lot of people look for Friedlander lithographs simply because the quality is so high. And in each one of these three lots, lot 172, 173, and 174, we can see the great colors, the great composition. They really are lithographic paintings and are the kind of items that really sort of enervate collectors to acquire. Each of these images captures the exotic nature of a circus. You see the performing animals, in some cases lions with tigers and Dalmatians, all performing together. Regardless of what circus name was ever imprinted on these posters, you can imagine walking down the street, seeing them on the hoardings, and really being brought into such a wonderful and exotic and strange and magnificent world. This is why the circus held such allure, and why printers like Friedlander were really able to tap into the imagination of the time. The auction also features 10 Mather work incentive posters. These are posters from the 1920s that were literally hung in factories and hung in offices to make workers more productive, to make workers happier, really as an incentive to work better, hence the name, the work incentive posters. These posters are very well known as a series, and the series spanned several years during the 1920s. Some of the posters are much better known than others, and we are really privileged to have posters from the 1924 and 1925 series, which, while they've certainly appeared before, are virtually unknown. They're far from being the most common images, and some of them are really wonderful, especially lot 178. Altogether Pull, which shows a bunch of different men in a tug of war, and it gives you this idea of how a team should work together, how an office or a production unit can come together and work towards the same goal. You know, in many instances we look at these posters and we think the messages are kind of hokey, and we can't quite imagine them hanging on the walls of our offices today. The whole idea of the series really was to incorporate bold graphics and simple messages, one complementing the other, so that really everybody and anybody could understand them, and they absolutely fulfill that goal. These all come from one collection, which incorporates the 1924 series and the 1925 series. These images are very exciting and very new, and there's a small, intense, niche group of collectors who focus on the Mather posters, and this is sure not only to excite them, but I think also to interest other people who will find humor, who will find meaning, who will find history in some of these wonderful, if not slightly obscure messages. Lot 223 in the auction is one of these posters you look at and you almost do a double take because you say, what's going on here? This is actually a poster of a man jumping from the Brooklyn Bridge. The piece itself is over 6 feet high. It's a tremendous lithograph printed by Strobridge, one of the great American lithographers. And the Brooklyn Bridge is clearly recognizable in the image, as is the Brooklyn skyline in the distance, albeit the Brooklyn skyline from 1895 when the poster was printed. Now, the Brooklyn Bridge was finished in 1883, and I imagine pretty much as soon as the bridge was finished, people began jumping from the bridge. One of the most famous episodes took place in 1886. A Brooklyn bookmaker named Stephen Brody advertised that he was going to jump from the bridge, and this took place very shortly after another man jumped from the bridge and died. So much like a Houdini, much like a self-publicist, he promoted this feat widely in newspapers and in advertisements, and hundreds, if not thousands of people came out to the bridge to watch him make this jump. He jumped from the bridge, and lo and behold, he survived. His fame spread probably as far around the world as the fame of the bridge itself, but it turned out that Brody had rigged the entire event and had thrown a dummy into the river in his place. But the cat was out of the bag already. His fame preceded him. He went on to open up a restaurant in New York. He went on to star in several productions, including this production of On the Bowery, during which he recreates his famous bridge jump. It's an exciting piece, it's a New York piece, it's a theatrical piece, it's a huckster's piece in many ways, and we're really looking forward to seeing how this one sells. Lot 309 is a very special poster. It's special historically, it's special graphically, it's special within the world of poster artists in and of themselves. 1937 was the sesquicentennial of the drafting of the American Constitution. 150 years after the Constitution was drafted, a congressional committee was formed to celebrate the great historical event from America's past. Howard Chandler Christie, one of the most beloved and best known of American poster artists, who was a great illustrator from magazines in the 1890s, rose to national fame during the First World War with a series of fantastic posters depicting winsome and sexy and alluring women calling on men to enlist, images which sunk into the imagination, captured the imagination of our nation, and really propelled Christie to stardom as a designer and as an illustrator. Well, in 1937, the Congressional Committee honoring the sesquicentennial of the Constitution hired Christie to paint an elaborate mural of the scene. The mural of the scene, We the People, of the signing of the Constitution, stretches 20 feet by 30 feet, a gigantic mural that now hangs in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. But the committee also commissioned Christie to design a poster featuring the finer points of the mural that could be mass distributed to Americans across the country to basically help everybody, relive and celebrate the 150th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution. And this poster, Lot 309, is that image. In this great and patriotic image, we see so many historical figures from America's past: George Washington, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. And here is this near angel of liberty floating above the entire scene, enveloped in the American flag, with an American flag brooch in the center of her gown, her hand outstretched, a quiver of arrows in her hand. The ink in the background is a metallic gold ink. The poster, which measures 42 inches high by 28 inches wide, was printed in great numbers. At least we assume it was, because if the United States government was trying to get this image into the hands of as many citizens as possible, it would have behooved them to print the poster in large numbers. That said, very few of them survive. It has since become one of the rarest of the Christie images, and also one of the most desirable. Lot 445 in the auction is one of the great American Art Deco travel posters. In fact, it's part of a series designed by a man named Welsh in 1934 and 1935, advertising the Pullman train carriages. Many of the posters in this series depict women involved in an array of outdoor sports. One shows a woman sailing, one shows a woman skiing, one shows a woman outdoor painting, and here we have a woman who's fishing. All the posters are marked by this great decorative element. Here we can see it both in the pattern of the water as it cascades over the rocks, and even in the decorative motif of the fish along the bottom of the poster that make a frame for the image. The designs are sophisticated, the color palette is a rainbow of wonderful complementary colors. It's very unusual from the 1930s to show images of such emancipated women, taking the lead and doing all these wonderful things on their own. From an advertising point of view, this series and this poster is also fascinating because here you have an ad promoting traveling by train. Where's the train? You don't see the train at all. The advertising agency, the Pullman company, is trying to pull you in as the tourist, as the traveler, by showing you these pictures of beautiful people doing wonderful things. In many ways, this is a precursor to contemporary advertising, when these kind of conceits are taken for us by granted. But back in the 1930s, it was very novel, and I'm sure the campaign was a big success. Given the number of different posters in this sale, and given all of the different areas that they cover, there's no way that I can sum it up for you in just a few minutes. I really encourage you to take a look at the catalog online. Or even better, come down to Swann, view the posters for yourselves. We're open for public exhibition several days before the auction, and we're really looking forward to seeing you here.